Hi and welcome to SCW Live. Going to do a good old-fashioned Q&A. It's good to be back. You can call me Jason Derulo, though, in a way tonight, because I'm riding solo. But am I really solo when I'm joined by each and every one of you? Make sure to like and share and subscribe to SCW. Get involved with your questions nice and early. Some of the big talking points in the wrestling world over the last sort of 48 hours or so. Jade Cargill. Should she leave AEW to join WWE? Fightful Select has reported that Jade Cargill looks to be finished with AEW, wrapping up there, and will be joining WWE very shortly. And obviously, Becky Lynch becoming Grand Slam Becks, of course, winning the NXT Women's Championship on NXT. I'm going to give my reasons why I believe that's the right decision, why Tiffany Stratton wasn't buried, and where I think it can lead to elevating both ladies going forward, and WWE as well. Plus, as well as that, Nia Jax going to talk about her return. Going to be talking about the Royal Rumble and maybe the PWI Top 500. The scene that Seth Rollins has topped the list at the start of this video as well. So make sure to get involved with your questions as well. It's your show. Make sure to take over. And a shout out to Mo, who's already in the house as well. But while we're waiting for some questions to come in nice and early, let's talk about Jade Cargill. Should she leave AEW to join WWE? As I said moments ago at the start of the video, it has been reported via Fightful Select overnight, of course, that Jade Cargill will be leaving the company, will be joining WWE very shortly. Now, of course, Jade Cargill has been technically one of the true, real homegrown talents of All Elite Wrestling. Up until Double or Nothing this year, she'd gone 60 matches and undefeated in the company. In fact, when she did lose her TBS championship, which she was the only person to hold that championship until Chris Statlander took it from her, is when she'd already competed in a match, had won that match, and then Chris Statlander had appeared out of nowhere to win the title in a sort of shock moment at Double or Nothing. Now, Jade Cargill was taken most of the summer off, of course, returned last week on Collision. Of course, she was, looked like at first maybe she was going to get together with the Renegade Twins, I believe, their names, after Chris Statlander had won a match against one of them. Instead, she took both of them out and then took out Chris Statlander, setting up a match. And of course, what could support the argument here of the fact that Jade Cargill could be leaving? This match wasn't set for the Grand Slam show that we got coming up next week for Dynamite and Rampage. There'll be predictions coming for them, of course, later this week on the channel. As well, it's not been set for Wrestle Dream. It was set for AEW, not Dynamite, but for the pre-taped Rampage. Now, of course, spoilers are already out, so if you don't want to know, close your ears just for a couple of moments. Give you a couple of seconds. Yes, Jade Cargill did not win that match. She did put over Chris Statlander clean. From my understanding, I believe there was a shake of hands after the match. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I'm looking forward to seeing Rampage just to see that match. I'm not usually a Rampage viewer currently these days, but I will make an effort to go and see that match to sort of get a further take of what I feel is Jade Cargill really leaving. But at the same time, you look at where she's been, you look where she's at, and you look where what could be a bright future for Jade Cargill in WWE. What a massive get it would be. Now, take it with a pinch of salt, but I do believe I read a long time ago that Cody Rhodes was one of the people that was, big Jade Cargill fans, probably a Cody sort of person, along with the likes of like a Ricky Starks, people like that. People may look and see what's happened with Cody Rhodes leaving AEW to go to WWE. Is Jade Cargill thinking, well, hang on, women's segments don't get the longest time here. She's not really been tested against some of the biggest names, if you want, in that division. Jade's been very heavily protected. We've never seen matches against the likes of, against a Britt Baker, for example, a Saraya. I don't remember her facing a Kairi Shida, Tony Storm. There's a load of names there that Jade Cargill has not faced. We sort of sit and we think with the likes of, say, CM Punk being fired, all those dream matches you didn't get. Jade Cargill, a load of matches we didn't get. They were being saved for a different day. What happened with that? I don't know why TK didn't book some of those matches. Clearly, no one to keep her protected at the time. Maybe now was the time to take it to that next level. But Jade, contract is running out. She's got a choice of where to go. You could argue that TK has built her up to be a big presence and star name for the AEW women's division. and she just goes running over to WWE. It's a big loss, in my opinion, for AEW, purely because, like I said, their women's division isn't booked the best, in my opinion, mainly due to timing reasons. I think there's the talent there. I just don't think they're given the time to elevate themselves and show themselves to their full potential. Like I said, many matches that Jade Cargill could have had by now, perhaps should have been having, some of them by now, has not had, maybe leads to question marks. What was going to be the direction for Jade moving forward? As for WWE, look, it's a big get. It's one of AEW's homegrowns, like we said, one of the true homegrowns. It's someone that's got a true presence of star power. When Jade enters a room or enters an arena, people take notice. She's got great charisma when she talks as well, and that's something that gets you ahead of the game. You've only got to look at someone in WWE like an LA Knight, a top talker, can get yourself over massively. So Jade, for me, will be a success in WWE. And the things you have to look at, I said there with a lot of matches that Jade was undefeated, a lot of matches she didn't have. A lot of the matches she had was squash matches. She wasn't really given the time, a lot of the time, to have these big matches that she was perhaps capable of on a Dynamite or a Rampage. But of course, still being new to the game, you would imagine going to WWE that she's only going to get more seasoned. WWE have got a performance center there for her to work at, and it'll be interesting to see how she will develop. The big question is, will she be NXT or will she be straight to the main roster? According to BWE, a reporter that I see get banded around on Twitter, don't know the accuracy of the source, but certainly suggesting the main roster could be the destination for Jade. And I suppose, in a way, that makes a lot of sense because Jade Cargill going to a main roster, a Raw or a SmackDown, really gives the idea to people in AEW when they want to move over to WWE, you've not got to go through that developmental system. You literally can go, well, you're already on TV, you're doing your thing on Wednesdays, Saturdays, maybe occasionally Fridays. You're doing your thing. We trust you to go and do your thing on Mondays and Fridays here. It's a big statement. And with many contracts in AEW probably going to come up in the next year or so, we're talking MJFs of this world, maybe there'll be again question marks of whether they should stay where they are in AEW, or will it be a big loss for that company and a massive gain for WWE. I'm certainly not against Jade going into NXT either. I'll be honest with that. I think she'd make a fantastic NXT Women's Champion. We're talking about Becky Lynch later in this video. Imagine that matchup, and imagine all the dream matches you could get with Jade Cargill in WWE. I mean, you've talked about Bianca Belair, Charlotte Flair screams out to you, Rhea Ripley. There are some great matches there for Jade Cargill if she was to come over to WWE. But the big question is, should Jade Cargill leave AEW to join WWE? Now, I think I'm going to answer this question first, then I'm going to go to my chat. I'm seeing there are comments flying in, so thank you everyone that's joining on this video, and hope you're all keeping well. Let me know, in your opinion, should Jade leave AEW to join WWE if you haven't put it already, and we'll be bringing it up on the screen in about 2 minutes' time. But for me personally, I look at Jade Cargill and I think, what would she accomplish if she stayed in AEW? She could become the AEW Women's World Champion. That's certainly something that could have been in her future. I do not think that is out of reach. But what I would say is that, as I said, TV time is not a lot given to the women in AEW. You look at Dynamite this past week, setting up a match for the championship, or who will be taking on Saraya at Grand Slam. They've given 7 minutes, and 3 of those minutes of the 7 were adverts. It doesn't scream a lot of confidence put into the timing of that women's division on AEW programming. Look, Jade did break the mold. When she was on these shows for pay-per-views, we're getting 2 women's matches on those pay-per-views. Now Jade isn't about we're getting 1. It shows that there is a backward step with Jade not being around, which is not great for the rest of the women's division. And with not a lot of time given to that women's division, even if Jade is the star, other women don't, if they're not given the chance to prosper alongside Jade, that division isn't going to benefit as a result, if that makes any sense. So for me personally, I actually think the jump to WWE could benefit her because, look, let's be honest, does WWE always give the same amount of time for the women's division, or the amount that perhaps they should? Maybe not, but you are guaranteed a few matches on each show usually. I mean, NXT are probably the best at doing it, but Raw and SmackDown do. It's known from week on week that you can get main events on Raw and on SmackDown. Yes, Dynamite did it for a couple of weeks, but it's not something they do on a consistent basis. I think Jade Cargill could have more meaningful storylines going on for her in WWE, maybe trusted for longer matches. I think that she certainly could be, dare I say, she could be, a prodigy. She could be like a project. I think that's the word I'm looking for, a project. Someone that you can turn and say, they've come from AEW, they're coming here, and we're going to make them our star, because she's not really hit the same ceiling yet of where she could be seen as a global success. And like I say, when you go to the outside of WWE things that I like to do, for example, charity, media, all that sort of social stuff, the bumps of this world as well, if you want, for their own own stuff as well. She's good for that. Like I said, when she talks, you listen. She's got great charisma. So for me, I think Jade Cargill suits WWE more than she suits AEW. Now, Raj Giri, I believe, was of Wrestling Inc. I'm not entirely sure, but he has said on a counter argument on Twitter that he actually believes that Jade is staying put, although it being Fightful Select and many other outlets now are reporting Jade Cargill will be going to WWE. It's going to be interesting to see how it's going to go down, but I tell you what, I'm going to go into our chat in the meantime and see how everybody is doing here. We've got Pierre in house as well saying, hey, Steve. We've got Robbie in house as well. We've got Eric Douglas back in house now. Change back to Eric Douglas from Andrade. It says Jade will be NXT champion in no time. So NXT could be the destination in Eric's personal opinion. To be fair, I wouldn't be against it. Now, the thing is, I do see the argument of putting her on the main roster, like I said, for the rest of the AEW talent. They may want to sign from that company. For me personally, looking at this, I do feel, though, that NXT, look, you get more seasons. You've got the Performance Center right there for Jade. She wouldn't have to do a long stint in NXT just to stand and deliver. Depends on when she's coming in, I guess. But you can have her as NXT Women's Champion. Why not do it? I would not be against the idea at all. But like I say, I do see the advantages as well of putting her on a Raw or a SmackDown. Not necessarily have to go for those championships nice and early, but at the same time, you can have her in meaningful storylines. Pierre asking that question again about debuting on NXT on the main roster, because if it's main roster, Jade will be my pick to win the Royal Rumble, and then to have Jade Cargill versus Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania 40. Look, here's the thing. WWE will probably want to build Jade up in their own way as well. She'll probably get a similar push going forward, maybe some dominant victories to start things off as well. So the question, I suppose, there is it too soon? But at the same time, Jade Cargill, like I said, she's got a lot of presence, a lot of star power, something about her. Maybe WWE would push the button very, very quickly and say, let's get Jade Cargill as a top star here in our division. And again, it's that same thing of what they did with Cody. You bring them in early, you make them a big deal. MJF is a prime example. That contract 2024 coming up and available. Well, MJF, look what we've done with Cody. Now look what we've done with Jade. Look what we can do for you. It's interesting to see how they will play out. And when Jade debuts in WWE, it's NXT on the main roster. The dream for Pierre is to have a copyright and have the Bojack Yellow by Cardi B as a theme song. I must admit, not too familiar with that track, but may have to give that a Spotify check afterwards there, Pierre, just to hear what you're shouting about. Eric Douglas did make a comment about Liv Morgan. She needs to win the Rumble, so she has to finish the story. I think Cody's story is the one that really needs finishing, but Liv Morgan certainly has got her own narrative going on. I will not go against you for that there, and hopefully Liv Morgan will be back in time for the Rumble, and certainly I have her down as a favorite at this moment. Speaking of real podcasts, she does not need to go through NXT. She's very well known. So there you go. And that's also the outside attraction already, of pro wrestling. If Jade is well known, people know of her. Therefore, she will create a buzz. The fact, she's not as if she's been someone that's been. Oh, this match was on Rampage, for example, but like it's on national TV. It's not as if she's been put in the corners of YouTube, doing matches there, for example. Like she's someone, like you said, that is well known. She's done her thing, 60 matches unbeaten as well, done her stuff outside of the company. But that's one thing that makes me wonder if she would prefer to stay in AEW. She's allowed to do her outside projects in AEW. Is she going to get those wishes in WWE? Therefore, maybe she has the leverage when it comes to contract negotiations. And of course, for those just wondering, of course, if that hiring freeze is finished, well, Nia Jax returned to WWE this week, and I'll be talking about her later in this stream. If no one else brings it up, I'll certainly give my reaction to the situation. Nubico in-house says, hello, Steve. Hope you're doing well, New. Thank you for checking out the channel. Hope you are keeping well. And we've got Richard in-house as well. And let's be fair, Richard, always a big Zoe Stark fan. We know it's coming. Zoe Stark should win the Rumble. Does everyone have a story to finish? I'm not so sure there, but hey, look, Zoe Stark looks like she's developing a partnership, it seems, with Shayna Baszler. Looks after this past week of Raw, so that could be quite exciting. But Richard also giving a take here of how we'd have booked the Elimination Chamber next year with some quite good, decent, strong names there on the build to WrestleMania. So as I say, ladies and gentlemen, it's your show. Make sure to take over. I've been talking about Jade Cargill now for nearly 15 minutes. How have we done that? We've done a great job to start off this video. Talking strong. Should Jade Cargill leave AEW to join WWE? My answer is a resounding yes. I believe, looking at the pros and the cons, I think it is the right move for Jade Cargill. It's not the right move for AEW. It certainly would be the right move, though, in my opinion, for WWE. Pierre does ask a further question. Says, how do you see Jade's debut in WWE for you personally? Well, for me, I think we mentioned the Royal Rumble not too long ago. I think the Royal Rumble is a great place to do so. We're getting to that time of year. And the thing is, Jade's contract coming up. I've seen other contracts are coming up as well. Deonna Purrazzo is out of contract with Impact Wrestling at the end of the year. Triple H said to be a big fan of hers. Chelsea Green struggling to keep hold of a tag team partner, although Piper Niven did return this past week on Raw. I would love to see Deonna partner with Chelsea Green when she comes back in, so hopefully that can happen. But for an outside of the Royal Rumble, for Jade to come into WWE is a very good question. I personally think Raw would be the best place for her right now over SmackDown, just purely because I think SmackDown does have a lot of depth in that division already. We've seen with Nia Jax coming into Raw this week add some depth to the Raw division already. I think Jade actually, because of the fact she's kind of like she's almost larger than life, and that's what I think she's a very tall, strong, physical-looking athlete, and I think certainly you could build her up against the likes of the Candice LeRays and the Indy Hartwells in the beginning matches, but I certainly think maybe almost in a similar way to what Nia Jax did come back in for. I want to see perhaps maybe a Jade versus Raquel Rodriguez kind of start. Someone to say, like, I'm here and I'm here to sort of dominate. I'm here to, show that I'm not just going to be one of the people here in the background. Raquel recently going for a championship, losing on 2 occasions, but certainly that's how you're going to get yourself in the conversation to go for the championship against Rhea Ripley at this point. Hey, you could even go straight to the top, as has been suggested in the comments. Noob not wasting any time going in there for me so I can answer the question, what are your thoughts on Nia Jax coming back? And that she's got from fans. Also, Auska defends Nia Jax, while some fans are with her, others believe that she's in the wrong. Well, I mean, personally, everyone will have the take of Nia Jax coming back. For me personally, I'm going to actually be honest with everybody. I'm not as anti the idea as everybody else. And here's my reasoning why. Nia Jax is, again, someone who's a great character. She's a character. She's someone that I don't think she's the strongest in-ring worker. I think there are better in-ring workers than a Nia Jax on WWE TV. But with Nia Jax being in WWE, there's a lot of people that are going to be squeaky and itchy and nervous every time that she's going in a Royal Rumble match for a championship, anything like that. People are going to be nervous that Nia Jax will win, and people do not want her to win. Therefore, it makes her a fantastic heel. So for me, for that reason, I think that actually she's a good fit to come back into WWE. Now, I know there have been some cases in the past where people will say maybe unsafe working. Now, I've not been in the ring with her, so I can't really attest to it, but sometimes there's a common denominator. I think we can say that fairly. Nia Jax sometimes is in the situation with it. We've seen obviously the real brawl with Charlotte Flair. I think that meant to have happened a couple of years ago on a Monday Night Raw. Obviously the Kairi Sane, a couple of incidents that were meant to have happened during the pandemic. So I do see that side hopefully doesn't return. Let's hope maybe she's done a bit more work in the ring if she's been in the PC. Rumors suggested she'd been signed for a while as well to the company. So I'm going to say that I don't think it's the worst thing in the world, just purely because of the fact that it's going to have many people on the edge of their seat. But what I would say is, of course, I don't want her to win the championship. I'll be just like every one of you, really. I'm hoping if we have a program now of Rhea Ripley or in a triple threat match, for me, I don't think she'll win the championship. I think that perhaps maybe the tag titles are more likely at this point. But yeah, I'm with a lot of people. I don't want that to happen. But certainly, I'm actually not against that she's back. I think she can add some depth to that Raw Women's division, something that's clearly lacking at the moment. I think there are quite a few characters that are lacking. And I think personally, with a couple of injuries that we've had as well, I think that's harmed the division greatly. Zane Charles says, I am not a fan of Jade. Wish she's going to New Japan because I don't watch New Japan. I would not have to switch to another channel every time Jade is on. Well, Zane, not going to be a fan of everybody. And I understand that not everyone is a fan of every wrestler. You're entitled to your opinion. But for New Japan, she wouldn't really get many people to wrestle over there. I think Stardom would be probably the place you'd be hoping for more regularly. But still, I do see your point. But for me, I do think that as someone that's can see the potential in her work and certainly am a fan to see her grow as a performer. I look forward to hopefully seeing her on a WWE set. But if she stays in AEW, I wouldn't complain with that either. Ken saying that she's in fantastic shape, Nia Jackson. Lost weight and looks fantastic. Well, there you go. It's good to see that she's doing well, looking well, and it's great to see her back on the screens. Will WWE's chance of the Jade Cargill name? That's a great question, Ken. I really like this question because WWE will probably change it. I would expect change. I wouldn't expect them to keep it. My reasoning for it is because WWE likes to have their names. They like to have their wrestlers named after them, of what they can brand it, how they can promote it. If Jade Cargill does come in, for example, I keep mentioning Cody Rhodes because that's the connection of AEW to WWE. Brian Pillman's done it as well, Brian Pillman Jr., but we've not seen him come onto NXT TV yet, so we don't quite know what's going to happen there. But Cody Rhodes kept his name. Cody Rhodes was Cody Rhodes in WWE, so it made sense there. It was reintroducing him to the same audience he's been to before. Jade Cargill hasn't done that, but perhaps maybe that's some of the leverage she would have. But if she was to keep that name, perhaps maybe there is something in the contract, which means if she left the company, she may not get to keep it after that. So I would say I would expect some form of name change in some way, whether it's something small or whether it's something drastic. I'd hope that perhaps maybe we keep Jade. Maybe it's the Cargill part that may have a little tweak. That's what I would say if it's going to be something. But at this point, of course, it's all guesswork. But chances of it happening, I would say that I'd say there's a chance that there could be a change in there somewhere. But unless Jade has all the cards when she's actually doing the negotiations. We've caught up with the chat just for the meantime, so what I'll be talking about is none other than Grand Slam Becks. That's right, Becky Lynch winning the NXT Women's Championship. Now, I'm going to give my reasons of why I believe this happened on Tuesday, the reasons why, and this will also link in together with the reasons why Tiffany Stratton was not buried in doing so, because a lot of people on X, Twitter, whatever you like to call it, do like to overreact. I mean, first off, this match went on for about 15 minutes, so buried, I'm not quite sure. Tiffany had a great showing in the match. I'm not quite sure how people get to that level, but still, here's my take of the reasons why Becky won the match. First off, it's already on your screen. Grand Slam Becks. It's a new tagline. We've had the man, we've had big time Becks. Grand Slam Becks is something you can market, you can go with going forward, because Becky now has won all the championships. She's won the Raw Women's Championship, the SmackDown Women's Championship, the Women's Tag Team Championships, and now the NXT Women's Championship. Secondly, she's probably going to put Tiffany back over, because if she is the champion at this point now, you know No Mercy is around the corner for NXT. No Women's Championship match has been set for the show yet. Becky will continue to do dates for NXT. She is probably going to main event that show, probably against Tiffany Stratton. I would not be surprised if the rematch is done to close that show of No Mercy, which, let's be fair, makes that show much bigger by just having Becky Lynch's name attached to it, which of course is exactly what happened with NXT this week. Between 800,000 and 900,000 people watched as Becky Lynch won the NXT Women's Championship from Tiffany Stratton, the highest rating in NXT for years, and we're talking plural years, even higher than when Seth freaking Rollins defended the World Heavyweight Championship against Braun Breaker at Gold Rush earlier this year. Becky Lynch was a bigger rating pool, and that's what WWE is doing so well with NXT right now. They're doing great use of bringing wrestlers from Raw and SmackDown and bringing them to NXT, because that gets more eyes on the NXT banner. And I mentioned Tiffany Stratton, by the way, had one of the best matches of her career, had one of the most important matches of her career, because the most people were watching her for the first time in ring. They've probably seen her then on Raw, perhaps backstage talking to Adam Pearce. They've probably seen her standing in the crowd at Payback, maybe on a SmackDown as well. But to actually watch her in ring, look, the future's bright for Tiffany Stratton. It was a great match. So for me personally, I'm happy to see these two do it again. And I've mentioned about the ratings for NXT. Let's not forget that negotiations for TV deals are coming up for Raw, for SmackDown, and yes, for NXT is expected in the rumor mill. the rumor mill, so keep it with a real pinch of salt that USA probably will keep NXT going forward. And if WWE are going to continue doing things the way they're doing it, USA or any TV network are not going to be complaining with the product they're getting when they could be getting nearly 1 million people again watching that show, because there was a point where NXT was dropping off to nearly half of those numbers. NXT is back to the strength it's at once again. So those are the reasons why I believe Becky Lynch won the NXT Women's Championship, and I think that she'll be a short-term NXT Women's Champion. If I had to predict right now, I think that someone may cost her that championship against Tiffany Stratton at No Mercy. Could it be Jade Cargill? Who knows? Probably not. But still, I think Tiffany will be winning that championship back and will be an even bigger star for beating Becky Lynch, because she's done the job for Becky Lynch here to do it on No Mercy, which will be arguably a bigger platform for WWE. But it's great stuff and it writes itself. Let's go into the comments once again, and let's see what everyone's got to say here. And to be fair, we'll mix it up as well, because there are some questions in here as well, not just stuff here to do with big time Becks as well there. So let's see what everyone has got to say. Starting off with Pierre here saying, I've got a better question with Io Sky versus Auska next week on SmackDown. There is a chance that after the match, we'll see the return of Kairi Sane. From my understanding, Kairi still has some bookings that she needs to complete. So for me, I'm not entirely sure if Kairi Sane would return this soon. But one thing, again, we mentioned Jade Cargill, mentioned Deonna Purrazzo, Kairi Sane, Nia Jax coming back. This women's division is getting a right reboost. I've even seen apparently Camille from NWA, her contract's meant to be coming up soon as well. Someone that's got lots of, let's say, advantages for her future. Certainly a lot of potential there. WWE can kind of snap all these names up would be absolutely massive for their women's division. Imagine the depth as well. But one thing's for sure, Io Sky Auska should be a great match next week on SmackDown. Win, lose, or draw, whoever in that match. And say if we got a Kairi Sane return on that, I wouldn't be complaining either. And I do believe that is why we're getting the Auska versus Io Sky match now, not at a PLE, because I think other plans are in the works. And I do think Auska and Kairi Sane will be Kabuki Warriors once again. But that's just a prediction for me. That's certainly not a spoiler. Pierre also says the word buried is not what it used to be. You're certainly right there, my friend. Honestly, people just use it left, right, and center today. It's very easily used at X. Do we want X or do we want Twitter? I still prefer Twitter, but there you go. It's thrown around so often. So the point just needed to be made. So forgive if anyone here kind of went, Steve, we agree with you already. So yeah, apologies if you had seen me rant for about 5 minutes. Eric says, I still think Liv wins the Rumble. She has to finish the story. I agree that Liv is certainly a favorite. The only thing I disagree with this is finish the story, because that's Cody's stick. But at the same time, though, I do think Liv certainly is a favorite at this point for the Rumble next year. But I think there's about 3 or 4 names in the hat for the Rumble. I think Bianca, I think Charlotte, and I think Becky are the other 3 names currently I would throw out. Noob and Co with another big question here. My thoughts on the WWE and Endeavor merge, and which former WWE superstars or indie wrestlers get signed to WWE. Chris Masters, Trevor Murdoch, Mike Knox, EC3. And to be honest, of those 4 names mentioned, I would say probably none. I still am disappointed though that EC3 never had a full run in WWE to the potential that he could have had. A fantastic talker, great way of telling the story, but sometimes just doesn't know how to control that narrative, if you know what I mean. But yeah, it's a shame. Chris Masters would be great for a cameo for the Rumble, by the way, but I don't see any of them signing full time. But as for the merger, I mean, we knew the deal was happened. We knew it was going to take place. There are some changes probably that's going to come to the company, which we'll probably see more of in the next coming weeks and months. I do fear for talent releases. That's something I do fear for. I have seen online through multiple sources that Elias's contract apparently is run out from WWE. I wonder if he'll be resigning or not, but we've not seen him on TV for months now. So wasted potential certainly could be. That could be WWE's method going forward, is just not renewing contracts. We'll have to wait and see. But apparently one of the big execs may be removed from their role as well when they got a big payout when this merger happened with UFC. So let's wait and see. Obviously TKO now is a thing as well. I'm kind of just thinking to myself at this point that Vince McMahon obviously bought the company for whatever he did in the millions. He sold it in the billions. It clearly shows that WWE has been marketed in such an incredible manner in the last sort of 40 odd years to the monster that it is now, and it's entertaining masses all over the world. It was always going to be a big a big deal that would make Vince sell, and we've had that sell. Now we've got this endeavor merged, like you say here, with WWE and UFC. It'll be interesting how they're going to play out, what marketing strategies they'll have. I did see the Dana White clip apparently from UFC, which he was asked the question, will we get all UFC fans being WWE fans and all WWE fans being UFC fans? That was the goal, and he sort of laughed near enough that question of saying it's impossible. Two very opposite audiences, and to be fair, I agree with him. I'm not a big UFC fan. I may watch for the occasional fighter that I want to see, but I won't sit there and watch an entire card. I'm sure there are many that are both sets of fans, but I can see where Dana White is coming from. But at the same time, if you have a company like that, why wouldn't you try to make a big statement like that and try to grow your audience? That's what they are looking to do. If they're going to take on WWE, take on UFC, and have this merge go on, they're going to want to make both promotions even bigger than what they already are. So, yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on this particular moment. But as we said, they're from wrestlers of getting signed to WWE. If we're going with indie like that, I mean, obviously, I don't like labeling Impact Wrestling as one of those, but you would imagine someone like a Deonna Purrazzo would be high on the radar. That would be the one name that I would say that A, I want, and two, that I think will potentially happen. Ray UK08 in house, thank you for checking the stream out. Hope you're keeping well. Says, I'm looking forward to watching Impact Wrestling 1000 episode. Seeing returns to Impact Wrestling will be great. I've got to say, I am in the same boat as you. I did have a period where I was a bit on and off with Impact this year, and not because of the fact that I've not enjoyed it, but more for timing reasons. I've missed the odd week here and there, but one thing's for sure, I'm making time. I'm not missing episode 1000. The stuff that's been advertised, obviously the return of the Dudley Boys being there, we've got Gail Kim, I believe Awesome Cole, we've got the beautiful people as well, so lots of people going to be in the house for Impact 1000. Of course, they're going to be building for, now we've done Victory Road, I'm guessing that the road begins to Bound for Glory as well. So it's a very exciting time of year for Impact Wrestling. Ray, I'm on your side, very much looking forward to the show. Pierre says, Becky really got NXT huge ratings last Tuesday. Absolutely did. And do you know what? You love to see it. Do you know what? I've been a really big fan of NXT. I would say since Deadline last year. It's when I thought myself, this show has really turned a corner. Because I got a point with NXT where it was the 2.0 banner. I don't say I fell out of love with it because I still watched it, but I still felt to myself that it wasn't must-see TV. But I feel that this year, what Sean has done with the pencil has done some fantastic work, great characters, great in-ring work, great blend, and great use of main roster wrestlers when they come down as well. And obviously to have someone like Becky Lynch come down, and now clearly he's going to be there more than one performance, that's amazing. And the fact is, well, Dominic Mysterio as well, North American champion, they're just doing good things, because when people lose these championships, those NXT stars are going to be made. And I really hope we get to see Becky have a couple of matches, not just a rematch with Tiffany Stratton. There's some great talent in NXT. Roxanne Perez being one, Lyra Valkyria. There's some great matches I personally would love to see Becky have with the NXT crew. Eric says, how sad is it that NXT can't sell without main roster members? Well, I think if you're looking from a million viewers, or between 8 and 900,000 viewers per week, I totally see your argument, because it is sad, but at the same time is NXT is a show where you don't have as established names. Obviously, you don't have those stars you see on the Raw and the SmackDown. You know, Becky Lynch is someone that's main evented the WrestleMania. And when you look and say, you know, and this is why for the people that made the argument that Tiffany should win that match the first time round, what's Becky done compared to what Tiffany's done? Tiffany's only been there for a short time. It doesn't seem realistic on paper that Tiffany would win that match against a seasoned veteran who's been there and done it at the highest level. Obviously, Tiffany can now go back to the drawing board and can win the next time, because that makes her a bigger star and a bigger performer going forward, because of the fact that she's not had only one match where she hung with Becky Lynch and lost, but she won the next time. So it is sad in a way, but at the same time, it's not really surprising, obviously. In NXT's Black and Gold era, where they were bringing in top indie talents, where people were quite aware of those names, that's not been WWE's sort of go-to as of late. Obviously, you look at a lot of the people in NXT, some have been on the indie scene, but they're not really, you know, we were bringing in top names from like New Japan. You were bringing like Shinsuke Nakamura's, you were bringing in Finn Balor's or Prince Devitt's, you know, and you were bringing in likes of Impact Wrestling's Bobby Roode and people like that. That's not really happened for a long time now, it feels, in NXT. So I think that also comes to a point where you can say, well, this is why that the numbers haven't been as strong as of late for NXT, but it's great to see them getting back to healthy numbers. And however they do it, it gets more people watching, they see the other talent, and hopefully those people now will stick around even when Becky's not around. Zane says, Heath Impact Wrestling contract will expire in October. Do you see him going back to WWE? Great question. For me, Heath is a very underrated talent. I personally think that he's a great promo. He can be a really good promo, a really good character work as well. With his I Got Kids stuff in WWE was really good. Obviously, he's played that gimmick a little bit in Impact Wrestling, of course, and he's done his partnership with Rhino, of course, against Violent by Design. But he's been very hit and miss with injuries and stuff like that. He's not been booked to his potential. I feel like he went there trying to do the Drew McIntyre road to getting back to WWE. Hasn't quite worked out. Could he go back to WWE? Absolutely. I wouldn't be against it, but would he be in a high profile position? I don't think so, but I wouldn't be surprised if he went back either as a lower card guy or as a guy even to be a part of the NXT roster. I wouldn't be surprised with that either, because Heath could establish himself better and also help the younger talent of tomorrow. Zane goes on to ask, do I watch Impact Wrestling? Yes, I do watch Impact Wrestling as regularly as I can. But one thing is for sure, Zane, if you are a fan of Impact Wrestling, there is regular Impact content on this channel. So keep an eye out for when there are predictions videos for Impact Wrestling shows, and Bound for Glory will be the next one, and that will be shortly followed with Turning Point. In fact, I'm looking to do actually some more videos on the road to Bound for Glory, including who will be Will Ospreay's opponent, because that's something I'm really excited about, to see Will Ospreay in the Impact Zone for Bound for Glory. Nubiko says, Kabuki Warriors versus Damage Control, Kairi Sane versus Bailey in a loser leaves WWE. Extreme. And Auska versus Auska and No Holds Barred at WrestleMania 40. I mean, certainly, Noob, I've got to say, I love the fantasy booking. I love the creativity. And to be fair, I think that's a lot of strong booking, because the thing is, even if someone does lose to leave WWE, they don't have to leave WWE. You can rebook them to come back in a different way. But at the same time, for me, those matches seem pretty cool. They seem pretty cool to me. Eric Douglas says Grizzled Young Veterans have been released. They've certainly been written off TV, haven't they? They did the thing with NXT this past week where they were not featured, and Joe Gacy kind of said that the tree isn't as strong as it was. Let's be fair, the JYV have not been booked to their potential. I feel that WWE booking has let them down over the years they've been around in the company, but fingers crossed they will land on their feet somewhere else. Now, AEW could be a potential. Impact Wrestling could be another potential. There are other great companies as well that do, have great tag team divisions as well. I think Impact is the place I'd like to see them go. However, I wouldn't be surprised if they go to AEW at this point, or if they just go and do the UK scene once again. Ken asks, have I played AEW Fight Forever and WWE 2K23? If you have, what do you think is a better game? It's a really good question, Ken, and unfortunately, I've not played either. I've just not had the time this year to get into the gaming scene, unfortunately, but it's still something on my to-do list. I would like to try and get involved and play both of these games before the end of the year, but at this particular time, I can't answer your question. But Ken, I'll make a promise to you. When I do eventually get to play both games, I will do that as a short of which one I think is better. Eric Douglas says, do you think that Bubba Ray Dudley goes into the WWE Hall of Fame? The Dudley's not already in there. I believe they're already Hall of Famers already. So I wouldn't say Bubba would go in on solo as Bully Ray, but I believe they're already in as the Dudley Boys. So if so, then if they weren't, of course, yes, but I believe they are already there. PS says, my biggest regret is that we'll never have Toxic Attraction in the main roster as Mandy, Gigi, and JC, because they used to be my second favorite faction in NXT since the Undisputed Era. I've got to be honest, I do feel a yeah on that one, because Toxic Attraction for me were ready made for the main roster. That was an act that was established, that was polished, that was everything had been done perfectly for them to be a big deal on the main roster. Mandy had completely, revamped herself, new character, in-ring style, lengthy reign as champion. It would have been amazing to see how they would have coped on a Raw SmackDown, but unfortunately, as we know, what happened, and Mandy was released, of course, from the company. And obviously, since then, they've kind of wanted to just ditch the Toxic Attraction thing altogether with Gigi and JC. Almost put them together then. I wouldn't be against them actually reuniting if they were called up to a Raw SmackDown later down the line. But I feel because of the fact of the Toxic Attraction name, it's never going to happen now. So it's a shame. I do agree with you, Pierre. It's sad to see that it'll probably never happen at this point. Sinisha says, it's good to see Jade Cargill put over Chris Statlander in clean fashion. Come on, I may have a spoiler, but everyone knows Jade Cargill is leaving, of course, according to Fightful Select. And you have got into the spoiler reveal, but do you know what? I did it earlier as well. So, I mean, I'm not one to say anything there. But if she is going to WWE, then certainly that is the right way to do it. They put over Chris Statlander in a big way because obviously that would be Jade Cargill's first, one match then losing because she had had two matches when she lost the last time. So Chris Statlander has been put over in a clean and as good fashion as possible. And CD does go and say that the boys were Hall of Famers in 2018. I knew they were. I felt they were. C Nation, thank you for confirming that for me. And Sination also going to say, I feel you, Steve. I do not have time to play games because of school and my YouTube channel. To be fair, YouTube channel does take a lot of that time, doesn't it, for us of that sort of stuff. And I'm sure for you, school is a big thing as well. And of course, good to you on the studying and hope all of it is going well. Pierre goes on to say, based on what Mandy says to fans on Instagram, maybe Mandy's coming back into wrestling soon. I didn't know that. So maybe we see Toxic Attraction reunited soon enough. It'd be interesting if WWE would take her back. I'm not sure if they would or wouldn't, but wouldn't be against the idea. And certainly, if she was to come back to wrestling soon, should be a great get for another company. AEW, I believe, has a spot open out if Jade Cargill is leaving. CD has a test on Monday. Hope it goes well for your CD. Make sure to get the plenty of revision in. I know that it's not fun, but trust me, it will do you well, my friend, and I hope it all goes well. He says he has a test every week. That's not fun. It's not fun, my friend, but I hope they all go well for you nonetheless. I did say that we'll talk about one more topic that I have not mentioned at this point, so let's talk about it. Tropicana Field in Tampa, Florida hosts the WWE Royal Rumble in 2024. Getting with your early predictions for the Royal Rumble. Eric, I know Liv Morgan's your one. But at the same time, what a great place to be holding the Royal Rumble next year. Tropicana Field, a big capacity stadium. Florida, of course, is not, I believe the last few Rumbles have been in Texas. So it's good to see that it's going to be there. And I must admit, the first thing I saw Tampa, and I shouldn't put this into the world because, look, health comes first. But could you imagine if Big E returned in the Royal Rumble match? Just would be magical. It would be a beautiful moment. It may never happen. Let's be fair. Biggie, health comes first, and he's got to do what's best for him. But obviously, being from Tampa, just think it would be a magical moment if he ever does get that clearance. But certainly, Royal Rumble this year for me, I'm excited for it. I'm excited every year for a Royal Rumble. I think the only disappointing fact, Roman Reigns not on that poster, but I find it hard to imagine that Roman will not be on that show. I know technically you don't need Roman on that show. The Royal Rumble matches are what sell it, but at the same time, you need a championship match on there as well. I'd rather cut the other filler stuff out, have two Royal Rumble matches, and have Roman Reigns defend his championship, because that's what's needed on this show. And of course, the World Heavyweight Championship as well, the Women's Championship. They're the things that are needed on the Royal Rumble pay-per-view, in my personal opinion. But certainly a lot of buzz and a lot of excitement for the Rumble coming up. Let's see what people got to say about the Royal Rumble. If anyone has got anything to say about the Rumble, in fact, no, they don't. It's all about impact. So I tell you what, if you do have early predictions for the Rumble, let me know in the comments below. I'll tell you my early predictions right now are Cody Rhodes and Gunther for the men. And Eric, you'll be liking this. Liv Morgan is my favorite for the women's right now. However, as I said in the video, I think Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair, and Charlotte Flair, although all established and all have won the Rumble already, I do think that they potentially could be names within a shout as well, because WWE does like to sometimes go for the big names to set up a WrestleMania main event. And I do feel Becky versus Rhea, and I do think Charlotte versus Bianca will happen at WrestleMania this year. And CD does go on to say that Gunther will eliminate Cody Rhodes. Certainly is a possibility. I do believe they will beat the final two once again when it comes to the Royal Rumble this upcoming year. Let's go into the comments and see what we got to see about Impact Wrestling. And CD comes in straight away. If Rich Swann and Sami Callihan win the Impact Tag Team Championships, I may cry tears of happiness. You know what, CD? You've wanted it for years, my friend, and it's all about getting emotion in the wrestling world. So if it does happen, I would be very happy for you, indeed, my friend. And I really hope that Rich Swann does become that Grand Slam Impact Champion just for you. Zane says, do you think PCO will become the face of Impact Wrestling? Really good question. Basically, I mean, he's not human, is he? Let's be fair. He puts himself through all sorts of torture, but I don't see him as the face of Impact Wrestling. I think that Josh Alexander is the face, will remain the face for the time being. If I had to pick other names that are probably ahead of PCO in the pecking order, I would say both Motor City Machine Gun members, Saban and Shelley. Obviously, Shelley's the current world champion. I do think Eddie Edwards, despite turning his back on the company, storyline terms, I still see him as one of the top people that could be a face of Impact should he go babyface again. And let's be fair, I think even though he's not really done so much since his return at Slammiversary, Eric Young, I think they could easily put in a top prominent prime position if they wanted to. Why have I not said Joe Hendry? But he's not there yet. He's not there yet. Signation says, heard, yeah, I can never pronounce this name, by the way. Yuya Amura. Hope I've done that right. Maybe leaving Impact Wrestling. So Yo-Yo won't be the next Impact Tag Team Champions. Just give it the Rich Swann and Sami Callihan. Rich Swann has been in the tag team scene a bit. He certainly has. And I do think actually it is time for Rich Swann to win a tag team championship. Like I said, he's had the tries with Willie Mack. He's now doing it with Sami Callihan, another person that certainly would have an argument at one point being a face of Impact. So yeah, I would be down for them to win the tag team titles. And shame if Yuya is leaving Impact Wrestling, because he does some great in-ring work. I do enjoy his stuff in Impact, but of course, I'm sure he'll probably go on to perhaps continue his growth in New Japan. Ken Thompson asking, do you think Nick Aldis will ever wrestle in WWE or AEW? If it was WWE, I would go with a Royal Rumble cameo appearance only. I don't think it would be for the long haul. Rumors are he's signed as a producer with WWE. I don't know if it was just a trial or what the situation was with that. But for me, I've got it labeled that that's what he would do right now. And if that's the case, that would rule him completely out of AEW. But he turned down an AEW contract all them moons ago. He didn't think it was the right thing to do at the time. I just saw the, I believe, interview clip. It might have been Chris Van Vliet. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, it's a big one that he turned down AEW all them moons ago. I think now, if I had to pick one of the two, I would say WWE. And as I say, I do think I would go for that Royal Rumble cameo. PS says, Mandy, she did in NXT what Cody did to become the American Nightmare. Well, Mandy got back into NXT. She became an amazing leader, and it's a shame to know what happened. Absolutely. It is a shame of what happened and what was the result of it. But I suppose at the same time, WWE had to make their decision. CD goes on to say, Gunther will win the 2024 Royal Rumble and face Seth Rollins or Damian Priest as a babyface. Interesting. Obviously, Damian Priest potentially out of Judgment Day by that point could be what City Nation could be alluding to. But I do see that Gunther versus Seth match personally. I'm starting to give some of my WrestleMania prediction match card away here. But hey, look, that video has been in the works for a long time. We talk about timing, and now hopefully we'll be able to get that out for you in the next week. It's slowly getting there. PS says, I dream to have Gunther versus Brock Lesnar one day. As do I. SummerSlam, I think next year will be the perfect destination. Eric says, do I want to see Uso versus Uso? For me, I'm still a bit lukewarm on the match. I'm not entirely excited about it. And I think my reasoning for it is the booking of Jimmy Uso. I don't think it's established enough as main event Jay at this point to be really hyped and believe in this match. And I would say if they do the match, at the minute, I'd say Jimmy has to win it. Even if he cheats, he has to win it the first time round, just to even make me more invested in if there was to be a second match. So at the moment, do I want to see it? That's a big one. I don't know if I want to see it. I kind of want the Usos to be the Usos, but at the same time, Jay's doing his thing, and I think Jay's storyline telling at the minute is fantastic on what they're doing with him. WWE coming back to Raw, obviously now not many people want him there. I've done a video of 3 reasons why. I believe that that's been an ingenious booking move of why they've done it, of putting Jay Uso on Raw. So if you've not checked out the video, it's actually about 6 minutes long. One of the shorter videos that I've ever done on this channel, and I recommend checking it out because I think it's a good video. You going to New Japan is the rumor, I believe. Yeah, it would be where he spent time before coming to Impact, so it wouldn't be surprised for me that he would be going back there. First to work after 48 minutes. Let's go and see what we've got in here now. CD says it's hard to decide on which tag team is better, Rich and Sammy or Rich and Willie. To be fair, both were awesome. But hey, I'm all about the now on this one. I think Rich and Sammy, I like their background, their history, the rivalry they had, and now they've come together. For me, I have a lot more investment currently in them as a team than I did with Swan and Mac, although I was quite invested in them at the time. Bianca will turn heel and join Bobby and the Street Profits' new faction. Ken, I agree. I think you're bang on the money. I think it will happen. It's a matter of when, not if. CD says, I don't. If I see Damian Priest as a WrestleMania cash-in person, he will cash in at Survivor Series. People have cashed in at WrestleMania SummerSlam. Survivor Series is next. A very good point there. I think the only one I can think of the top of my head, I think was Sheamus in 2015. It cashed in on Roman Reigns after that. It's the only time I think it's ever happened. So yeah, I think that would be a good shout if they were to do that. PS says Bobby and the Profits faction needs a name. It does. It does. It's starting because they're starting to do more on TV now. So I'd like to see them do something with a name very, very soon. Certainly, if they're going to be in War Games this year, that would be quite interesting to see what they would do as a faction name. Eric says Mandy Rose said she will not be a free agent for much longer. Where do you think she goes? We've got a few Mandy Rose fans in the house tonight. That's all I can say. You guys know more than I do on this situation. Well, if she is going to be going somewhere, I would predict AEW would be where I think she would go. I don't think she's going to go back to WWE at this moment, but I'm happy to be proven wrong because I would actually be happy to see her go back. Certainly would love to see a reunited Toxic Attraction, as Pierre would want as well. But time will tell if that will happen or not. But if I had to pick one place, I think AEW, because now there is certainly a space for Mandy Rose to appear for them. And certainly maybe they'd be more willing for her to do more outside projects than maybe WWE would, if you know what I mean. Excuse me. C Nation says Sami and Callahan have history. Sami Callahan let Rich live with him with Papa Callahan, so they should be Impact Tag Team Champions. Why not? The Rascals are heels. They are heels indeed, and I think that they will probably keep those titles for a little while, but certainly Rich and Sami will be a good shout for next time for the next champs, and does go on to say that they are a better tag team than Swan and Mac in his opinion. Also, I was going to say as well that they have some awesome tag team moves. The finishes to their matches are unpredictable, and you never know what tag team move they will use. And I think that's what a great use of a great tag team. So yeah, absolutely, I'm down for that. And Ken says, I am not happy with the way that Tony Khan is booking Ty Valkyrie, not putting on AEW Dynamite, putting her on Rampage. Ty Valkyrie is one of the best women's wrestlers in the world. I think should be TBS champion. Ken, do you know what? I'm going to agree that Ty Valkyrie has not been booked to her potential. It's a name that certainly does get overlooked. And to think of the experience that she has, I think that she should be doing more in AEW. I think AEW, in fact, in general, should be giving more time to their women's division. I think there should be a minimum of 2 matches on Dynamite each week, a minimum of 2 matches on Collision. I don't think it's much to ask for 1 women's match per hour, and I think Ty Valkyrie certainly then would find a way onto these shows, because certainly at the moment the talent, the performers are not given a chance to develop proper stories, to develop their characters, therefore to tell great in-ring stories. If they're having short matches as well, which is what seems to be happening at the moment in AEW, it's no wonder if Jade Cargill is looking to get out of AEW and to join WWE. And possibly the last comment, C Nation says, I think Rich Swann and Willie Mack were supposed to win those tag team titles at Hard to Kill 2020. So Rich Swann and Sami Callihan should win them at Hard to Kill 2023. And you know what? I wouldn't argue with that. That would be pretty darn cool. Just the last little topic then, just before we wrap up, and that should take us to the hour mark then, which would be perfect for the end of this. I believe Seth Rollins at top of the PWI list for 2023. Apparently Roman Reigns in second place and Jon Moxley in third place. We had Cody Rhodes that came in 10th position. Impact Wrestling, as we've got some fans there. Josh Alexander coming in the top 10 as well there. So yeah, it's pretty exciting to see. It looks to be a fairly good list overall. In fact, I'm going to try and call it up for everybody so I can go through the official top 10 for everybody just before we do wrap things up. And we do have another question as well from Zane also, which we'll get to in a couple of moments time. So the top 10 then, I have to read them for you, unfortunately, because I've literally just got on my phone in front of me. Seth Rollins in first place. We've got Roman Reigns in second place. Jon Moxley in third place. Of course, Gunther. We couldn't leave out Gunther in fourth place. Vikingo is in fifth place. MJF in sixth. Okada in seventh. Orange Cassidy in eighth. Josh Alexander in ninth. And Cody Rhodes rounding off the top 10. And of course, that's a hell of a top 10, to be fair. A lot of great performers in there, a lot of great matches through a lot of them. I must admit, I do wonder where the hell Will Ospreay is. That's my only gripe with that top 10. Where is Will Ospreay. He's having 5-star matches for fun. I think that's my legitimate gripe with the list. But apart from that, kind of okay with it. Apart from that, that's all I would say. WrestleBoom in house. WrestleBoom, good to see you. I hope you are doing well. In fact, it's the Wrestle Boom. Getting a question while you can, because we're wrapping things up in the next few minutes. But Zane here asking, when do you think Randy Orton will return to WWE? For me personally, I think if he's going to return, because obviously the injury thing has been going for a long time now, and we've heard so much speculation on whether he maybe will retire, whether he should, will he come back or not. I would say around, again, boring answer, but Royal Rumble season, probably around the best time, or certainly on the road to WrestleMania. So I think if he's going to, that's the time to do it. I've got no idea if there'll be a Riddle around at that time after the behavior he's done in recent times, but hey, allegedly stuff that's happened at the airports and stuff, we'll never know, but certainly it was pulled off TV this past week, so that's probably the minimum and maximum I will talk about it on this stream. Yeah, so I'm not sure if we'll get RK Bro or if Randy will just do things on his own, but hopefully he will be fit and healthy enough to return. And yeah, boring answer, probably around Royal Rumble season, if not certainly going into WrestleMania season. Rich Swan and Sam McCann win us tag team. I may have to miss school to celebrate. You've got to stay in school, my friend. You must stay in school, but certainly celebrate on the weekends for sure. CD says Seth Rollins is in first place. Let's go. Absolutely. Seth Rollins had some great matches in the last 12 months, so I'm not against him taking that top spot. Am I supporting Chelsea? I'm always supporting Chelsea Green. Justice for Chelsea, absolutely. One of the best rehires from WWE since they were bringing everybody in last year. Chelsea's character work has been incredible, and I've got to say that she's thriving with the television time she has. I love the entrance call from Samantha Irvin. That's amazing as well. So yeah, do you know what? For me, I'm all down for it. I think that Chelsea Green doing amazing stuff in WWE. We've got Nation says Will Ospreay shouldn't be first, but he should be in the top 10 for me. I mean, I wouldn't be against being first. I mean, the amount of 5-star matches he's had this year, every time I watch a Will Ospreay match, is just, it's incredible. Look at the 2 Kenny Omega matches he's had, the one at Forbidden Door, the one at Wrestle Kingdom, the match with Jericho and All In. I know I'm biased because I was there, but still, it was a great match. Will Ospreay just has great matches. Even the trios match with Aussie Open and going against the Elite was incredible. So for me, Will Ospreay, I think, in my opinion, right now is the best wrestler in the world, but that's just my opinion. But certainly, I think if you're looking at that list, because obviously you have to take in consideration the fact that Seth Rollins WWE, more eyes on that product as well, probably does more matches as well because of the house shows, live events, European world tours, all the rest of it. But Will Ospreay does go around the world as well. So yeah, for me, I would have Ospreay definitely in the top 3. That's for me, for sure. Drew McIntyre versus Jade Uso at Fastlane. It's certainly a potential WrestleBoom. Do you know what? That could happen. I wouldn't be surprised if that did at this point. They're booking so many different directions for Jey Uso. If you've seen my Fastlane match card predictions video, you'll know my prediction for that. But this one certainly is one that I wouldn't be surprised to see either. WrestleBoom says, imagine Jade Cargill joins Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits faction. What about Bianca? But certainly, that's a way to bring her in. That's something to do with Jade. I mean, all the top factions at the minute. I mean, you look at Judgment Day. Obviously, we'll have Rhea Ripley by their side. So I imagine that got to get the ladies involved. So yeah, could do it indeed. Sinesh says, my bad. Wrestling Impact pay-per-views are on Saturdays, so I celebrate on Sundays. Good man. Just don't do homework that day. That's pretty much it. I'm a bad influence, aren't I? Oh. WrestleBoom says, in your opinion, who is the top 5 WWE wrestlers in 2023? Seth freaking Rollins, Gunter. That's my first 2 that I'm going to say for you there. After that, who will be the next 3? Good question, this one. I think that Bianca Belair still has incredible matches each and every time she performs. I will come around and say, you've actually stumped me a little bit on this one, WrestleBoom. Good on you, my friend. I mean, Roman Reigns has great matches, but he's not around enough to be in the top 5. But when he's there, it matters, I think, is where we're going to say. So, do you know what? Roman Reigns will go in there, and I'm going to round it off with Jey Uso because Jey Uso has had a great year as well. And from where he started to where he is now has been absolutely sublime. So, yeah, that'll be my rounded top 5. See, Nation, I knew this comment was going to come from someone. Prince Nana's dancing is awesome. Absolutely. I'm booking myself in for lessons. Expect it on one of these streams in the near future. I'm not going to embarrass myself today, though. Reservoir says, imagine AOP with carrying cross. Now, that is a faction I would like to see. And Sination says that that I'm right. He says, could go to school, only miss if you're sick. That's true. He says, I'm not doing homework. I'm celebrating on that day because I will get it all over with on Friday. C Nation, you're one of the good ones. That's all I can say. You're one of the good ones, my friend. Ken says, what do you think is the match? Probably match of the year from any wrestling company. I would say currently Will Ospreay versus Kenny Omega. I still prefer the Wrestle Kingdom match of the two, but I do think that the Forbidden Door match is the second best match of the year. And if I had to go for a WWE match, just because of the fact that I know that my audience will also want that, Gunther, Drew, and Sheamus from WrestleMania would be third place. But after that, we start getting to All In territory, which probably is a bit biased from my point of view. I need to rewatch that show. Russell Bloom says, do you think Chad Gable would have thrown Gunther? Great question. I think they are building up Gunther to face Chad Gable and Tommaso Ciampa. They could even do Tommaso Ciampa getting the position ahead of Gable. But with the way they booked Raw this week, I thought it was a very clever finish in that 6-man tag. I think a triple threat match is going to happen. I think if Gunther is dethroned, he's not involved in the decision. And I think at this point, people would want Gable to win that championship. So he could be the one, but I don't think he'll do it in a one-on-one match. I think if he does do it, I think, as I say, he'll pin Ciampa at Fastlane, and Gunther will go on then to go towards the top end of the card. Sinistro says he may have to go to Prince Nana's dancing class with me. Well, to be fair, if Prince Nana is holding those dance lessons, certainly he's got a couple of people interested. Do you think AJ Styles will turn heel? I don't in the near future. No, I don't. I think he'll stay babyface for now. The only thing I would say is would I be against AJ Styles doing it again in the future? I would not be against it, but I do think there's a potential chance we're slowly building to AJ Styles versus Roman Reigns for Crown Jewel. But we'll see if Roman makes the appearance or not. I think that's the one thing we're waiting to see at this moment, because I think Roman has been injured as well. And last comment, and I will wrap things up, says Seth freaking Rollins has been the wrestler in 2015, 19, and 23. The hat trick for Seth freaking Rollins. So, C-Dation, thank you for letting us know. Keep us in line with the facts. Ken says, do you think we'll see The Undertaker return not to wrestle? No, I think The Undertaker now, if he does, it'll be like those one-off appearances we've seen for certain times, you know, when it's like a Raw special, whatever, 30 years, whatever. But I don't think so otherwise. And the last time he came was the American Badass, and I think that's the, you know, those are the sort of appearances we'll get, but certainly not on a wrestling capacity. Very rare occasion if it's anything else as well. Maybe WrestleMania time, maybe Hall of Fame speeches, stuff like that, I think is more likely. Last comment from Russell Boom says, AJ Styles versus Roman Reigns at Crown Jewel or Royal Rumble? I would say Crown Jewel at this moment if I was to predict, because they could even be working up for LA Night as well, but we'll wait and see if that does happen. Thank you, CD. Says great stream. If you have enjoyed the stream, everybody, then do this channel a massive favor, please. Hit that like button, share with a friend, subscribe to the channel as well if you are new here, and of course, leave a comment when the video is finished. If you do those 4 simple things, they take literally a few seconds to do, and I can tell you the amount of help it does to this channel is massive. So I appreciate everybody that always takes the time to hit the like button, to let other people know, subscribe if they haven't already, and leave comments at the end of the videos. It is massive. They're minimal things, but they help a YouTube channel a lot. So thank you for everyone that takes the time to do so, and please consider doing it at the end of this video. But that's all from me anyway. Thank you all for watching. Look after yourselves and each other. I will look to see if I can do some more videos for you this week. Hopefully, we'll be doing our Flash Stadium predictions later this week. And also, everyone wanted a match watch along of Money in the Bank 20. It was 2005, wasn't it? WrestleMania 21. Edge, of course, was involved in that ladder match, and that was the poll that we did, and that was the match that was voted. So myself and NXT will be doing that over the next few days. So keep an eye out when that stream will be live. Hit up Peacock or the WWE Network, and you can join us as we watch along that classic match. Last question then from Zane. Then it says, "Who will be in the Hall of Fame?" I believe for next year. Therefore, that question, I will say that being in the location it is, I think Paul Heyman will get a shout. I expect Bray Wyatt to be put in the Hall of Fame at this stage. Hard to predict with some other names at the moment, but I think perhaps maybe Bam Bam Bigelow could be a good shout. Certainly, when I think of ECW roots, someone that, of course, has been in WWE as well and really stood out from the crowd, I think Bam Bam would be certainly a shout. If I had to round things off with a tag team, let's go with the Nasty Boys, just because of the fact I know they are desperate to be in the Hall of Fame. Booker T gave them a shout out last year, didn't materialize, so maybe this time around. And as for a female, let's go China. I don't think she's in there individually. I think she's in there part of DX. So if she's not in there individually already, then that will be my shout for that. But that's all for me. Look after yourselves. Thanks for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next time here on YouTube. All the best.